Quebec, Canada, fighting Troy the Destroyer Dorsey, 12 rounds for the World Super Lightweight Championship.
What are you going to do now as far as kickboxing?
First, I want to thank God, say hello to my wife, Shelly and Kendra. Happy birthday, Shane, and thank all of my instructors and students at my school. Now, pick up kickboxing and boxing both again and go out there a world time.
Congratulations.
Okay, thank you. All right.
The winner and still Hurricane World Super Lightweight Champion of the world, Troy the Destroyer Dorsey!
Well, self-defense is like anything else. You have to kind of do it. It is good if you do it twice a week or you do it regularly. I should say regularly, because I did mention twice a week is what we offer. So if you do something regularly, then you should get pretty good at it. If you have a typing job and you do it 45 minutes twice a week, after a while you're gonna get pretty good at typing. But and then you stop doing it, just like anything else, you stop doing it, or you're going to be very good at it. So it's a good thing to continue training and continuing to work out, because we never know when it's going to happen.
Agreed. Here's a self-defense question. So, a lot of these schools now are quote-unquote zero tolerance. But there's still a lot of bullying going on, and they're not really doing anything about it. Okay, we'll call their parents, and nothing happens. Nothing changes.
Right.
So, if the kid being bullied on finally defends himself, what are your thoughts on that? I guess.
Well, oftentimes they get expelled from school, but I think if that's what they have to do to defend themselves, I think that's what they have to do. There's a bullying is going on all around the country. There are poor children that are committing suicide because they are so afraid of getting bullied the next day at school. So my child or anybody else's child that defended themselves because this person was verbally abusing them. Verbally abusing is a little different. You just gotta, verbal abuses, just don't pay them attention. So if I'm calling you, you little chicken, you say, quit calling me chicken. I say, oh, you're nothing but a sissy, or I just keep on going with the words, and the verbiage gets worse, and you let it bother you. Well, I really like that. Oh yeah, I like it. So verbal bullying, that's different. Just don't pay them any attention. They call you fatty, they call you skinny, they call you mole face. I got the moles on my face. They call me flat nose, whatever they call me. Just don't even act like it bothers you. Of course, it's probably going to bother me if someone calls me something, but I'm not going to do anything. Don't do anything about it. Just let it go. Tell the teacher, tell the teacher, tell the teacher. And that's what I would recommend. If someone puts their hand on you in school, go tell the teacher. Or they threaten you, go tell the teacher. So then, like baseball, 3 strikes, you're out. So the third time you come up to me, or the fourth time, you just call it for the third time. So don't strike out. So they come up to you twice, and they put it, they're touching you. You tell the teacher, they're touching you again, you tell the teacher the third time. I don't say break their leg, but you might elbow that person. Or kick them in the groin. Or punch them in the chest.
Mm.
Have you ever been hit in the chest?
Oh yeah.
It doesn't feel good, does it?
No sir.
So I broke my right hand in a boxing match. Taped, wrapped, gloves. Don't hit a person in the face on the street. You hit him in the throat. Like that. Hit him in the throat. And that's only in serious situations, as we're talking about. Hit somebody in the throat hard enough, you could kill them.
Mm.
So if they're threatening your life, if you feel like your life is threatened, then you have to kick their knee or knee them in the groin or hit them in the throat. So you got your hands up like this, and they keep getting closer and closer. You reach around, you grab the back of their shoulders, and just pull them into a knee strike. It's got to be fast and it's got to be hard. You just keep kneeing them until they drop. That sounds mean, but if someone's trying to hurt you and you're threatened, you didn't do anything mean to anybody, you just defended your life or defended your brother's life or your sister or your parents.
Agreed.
So yeah, this is we're living in a crazy world now. Kids bringing pistols to school. So
That's a sad thought.
Yes, sir.
Let's go there for a second. What do you think of all this, the last probably 10 or 15 years, our gun violence in schools escalating to the level it has?
Oh, I might get blasted for this, but I think it's a parent problem. Of course, there are some instances I feel that it wasn't the parent. It's okay, I think, to have a gun. I have some guns at my house. So I think it's really important for adults to don't let their kids know, or they lock them up, or they don't make sure they're really being
hands-on.
They're really watching that their child doesn't have access to a gun. Ever access to a gun. Kids are shooting themselves. Kids are shooting their friends. Oh, I didn't know it was loaded. Even kids shooting themselves that they didn't know it was loaded because they just pulled the trigger and it was loaded. Lots of people killed with an unloaded gun. It really is sad. But that's one reason I teach martial arts, is because you're carrying around your weapon everywhere. So here's my weapon, here's my right hand, here's my left hand, got my right leg and my left leg. But my main weapon is this right here. My brain, to try to outthink and outsmart and get away from that partner, or get away from that person, not partner. So whether you're on the street, or you're inside a grocery store, or you're inside some type of another store, the first line of defense is run. And try not to put yourself in a bad situation. So I was talking earlier when I was driving home from my girlfriend's house, which is my wife Leslie now. I was going through Dallas and I can't remember, something happened to my car. Anyways, and I was on Central Expressway, and I was up real close to downtown Dallas. If I wasn't in downtown Dallas, I wasn't in the big building, but I was right there. Mm-hmm. And then I got out of the car and I just took off running back the other way to the closest phone. I get a phone. There was no phone then, of course. So I called my wife's, and her dad came and picked me up. Came and got me, took care of me.
welcome back to If the Gloves Could Talk. I am your host, Bryce George, and here with me every week is Mr. Troy Dorsey. And Troy, we've got a really special guest today. Mr. Garrett Poole is in the house. Garrett, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Just excited to be here and to hang out with you guys.
Okay, fun. And you're hanging out with us all the way from New Braunfels, Texas, right?
Yes, yeah, I really wish I could be there with you guys in person, but yeah, I'm here in New Braunfels, actually in the office. We I had this hanging up from some challenges that we've done in the past, but it actually wasn't on purpose. I have one of my best friends brought his family out. I really wanted to have the dojo in the background, just I think it's a cool backdrop. But they're out there on the mat, and so I was like, do I kick them off the mat, or do I just let them, because he's got his cousins, he's got his family visiting from in town. He's my best. I was like, you know what? They can have the mat. I'll sit in the office. It doesn't matter.
Okay, well, I'm just glad you're here to join us today. Troy, are you excited to ask Mr. Garrett a few questions?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's do it. So I see here you're called the Cheif. What's that all about?
Yeah, so it's when I got started in martial arts, my coach was called Cheif. It's called Cheif, and then his last name, and so I just thought that was a martial arts thing. Like when you owned your school and you had a black belt, you were called Cheif, and so I've always wanted to be a chief of my own school. And so when I owned. Yeah, right. Yeah. So when I started my own school, I was really excited to take that on. But what I didn't realize was that was maybe something special that he did, that most people are called professor and not chief. But I didn't really realize that, and I honestly didn't really care because I'd always aspired to have that, and so I did. So that's kind of where it came from.
I love it. Troy, have you ever been called Cheif?
No.
What are your
I gotta work
names?
a little harder to be like.
So, are you ever called Professor Dorsey?
No.
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 Just Master Dorsey or Troy or Mr. Dorsey.
Yeah, and I have a hard time sometimes with master because my master is Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. But it's just kind of comes with the territory, I guess.
The martial arts. The martial arts culture.
Right.
Okay, well, fun. So I see here you received your black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in 2011. Can you tell us a little bit more about your specialties, what you're trained in, and all that?
Yeah, so before I met Master Troy Dorsey, I was 100% Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I actually got started underneath Carlos Machado in his lineage, under one of his black belts, Clay Pittman in Lubbock, Texas. And it's funny because when I got started, it was in college, and it was a PFNW course, which I didn't even know you could do martial arts as a PFNW course. But when I looked at the other options that were on there, it was walking, sitting, weightlifting, seriously, walking. You get a credit in college for just walking.
Would you already do that?
Right. I mean, it's blew my mind. You just literally walk the whole class, and then you get credit for it. And so I saw jiu-jitsu, and I actually had a really quick story. So the reason why I decided to check it out wasn't because it was something that I really was attracted to because of something that I had seen on TV or anything like that. But my youth pastor, when I first met him and he came in and he was starting to pastor the youth in the church, I tapped him on the shoulder. I don't remember how old I was. It was 10, 11, 12 or something. And he would do this thing. He'd go like that. And he'd go, careful. I know jiu-jitsu. And it was weird more than it was cool. And when I saw it on there, it reminded me of him. And I still stay in contact with him, but I was I have to check out. I have to see what this guy was talking about. And I've never learned this move that he did when you touched him on the shoulder in jiu-jitsu. So maybe I just haven't reached that level yet. But yeah, that's how I got started in it. And then I met Ty Garrett, one of Master Dorsey's black belts, and he introduced me into kickboxing. and turns out punching and kicking people in the face is actually a lot of fun. And so I was like, I gotta try this out. So that's kind of how it all started.
How old were you when you started jiu-jitsu, Cheif Poole?
I was starting, so 18. I did karate for a couple years when I was 12. And then I got started in jiu-jitsu when I was 18. And then years later, after I'd already gotten a black belt in jiu-jitsu, I started kickboxing.
Okay.
So Troy, I don't think we've ever talked about this. Have you ever trained in jiu-jitsu?
Yes. Yeah, I got my black belt in jiu-jitsu with Travis Luter.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how
and,
would
Travis Luter was Carlos Machado's first black belt.
Really?
So we're all connected here.
Yeah. So how would you, in your opinion, describe jiu-jitsu compared to, kickboxing and boxing?
Jiu-jitsu is martial arts basically on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
You submit with arm bars, chokes, all different kinds of techniques that they use.
And Cheif Poole, what was that transition from black belt in jiu-jitsu to then kickboxing and boxing?
Well, I kind of, in the martial arts world, on the jiu-jitsu side, this is not always the case, but at least for me, because the black belt, the black belt that I primarily learned underneath, really felt like with his background in more, he's a black belt in karate, but that jiu-jitsu is really the end all be all, in the sense of like, it's really the only style that you needed to learn. And when I started to train with Professor Garrett, even though I outranked him and coached him, and he came and traveled to our school to work out and learn jiu-jitsu, like he would demolish me on the feet. Like, it didn't matter kind of what I knew with the jiu-jitsu or how much more skilled I was. Him knowing both, him being very competent on the ground, and then also extremely competent on the feet, was something. It was new territory that I was like, okay, what I believed isn't true, and this is something that if I want to understand fighting at the next level, that I really need to embrace and jump into. So I put the black belt down and put on a white belt, and I've never had more fun in learning another style.
I love that. It's really, I wouldn't say starting from ground zero, but you're going from technically an expert in one field to, the white belt, the beginning of it all. So I'm sure that was just a whole new world a little bit.
It was, and honestly, it felt really good to just be a student again. I think sometimes, I don't think people even think about it, but when you're a coach, sometimes it's hard to be a student because you're a coach. And so I heard this and I really liked it. Always a student, sometimes a coach. Mm-hmm. And so when you have that mindset, it reminds you that there's always, you can always learn no matter where you're at or who's around you. But just that mindset just always keeps me in that beginner's mindset, I guess is a good way to put it.
Would you agree with that, Troy?
Oh yes, it is. It is. Some people think they know it all, but I don't know. I don't know it all. That's what Mr. Poole just said. He just always be a student. That's what I like to do. Also, always be a student. And so, how old were you when you started karate? You said you were 10?
12.
So I think I was 12 years old, around 12. Might have been 11 or 12 or 13, but it was around 12. And it was a 45-minute drive one way. And so my parents did it for as long as I could take the drive. And then once the drive started to take more than I felt like the karate class was giving me, was when, we kids start to throw a fit. And then they were like, okay, this is not worth it. And so we stopped. But I did it for a couple of years, so we stayed in it for a while.
And then when do you start jiu-jitsu?
So it was my second, semester of college, my freshman year. and I got in the Texas Tech class, which let you go once a week for 2 hours as a class. And I loved it so much that as soon as within 2 months, as soon as they offered us the opportunity to join the private facility, I jumped on it. And then I was there all the time. Every class that I could be there, when I wasn't in class at school, I was there. I just fell in love with it, and I couldn't get enough of it. And so as soon as I could do another class, he opened up leadership opportunities for students to start learning how to be leaders on the mat. And so they could start assisting in classes. I jumped into that, and then I started to assist in classes. So I was there even more, and I just wanted to be around all that culture. I didn't have a father. My dad left when I was 12. And so I didn't have a father growing up. And so when I went to his facility and I saw this commanding, like one of the classes had probably at least 100 kids in it. And he had these, this army of instructors and all of these kids on the mat. And he was, and it was just flawless. It was smooth. It just looked really great. And I was like, I don't know what he has, but I want it. I want that. And that's was the start of, and I think it was part of like the martial arts obviously is very cool, but I also think that I was missing that that leadership, the manly leadership side of like growing up, and I was gravitating towards that.
So in jiu-jitsu, that's when you started, right? And then when you
Yep.
started working with Carlos Machado, and when did you get your black
So Clay Pittman was already a black belt under Carlos Machado, and he brought in Carlos like every year, once if not twice a year. And so I got to meet him, and he's just an amazing, wonderful human being. I mean, from day one, he learned my name from the first seminar that I went to, and then a year later when I saw him again, he said, "Hey, Mr. Garrett, how's everything going?" Like, he knew my name.
Yeah.
And so I came to ask him like many years later, like, how did you do that? Because not only did he do it with me, but he did it with other people that were still there a year later, which just blew my mind. So there's this whole remembering a name technique that he does, which is just incredible, because they say a person's favorite word in their language is their name. And so I thought, I don't know if it's true or not, but I really liked it. It really made me feel special when he remembered me and my name, a year later. So I got started in, I was always underneath him through Professor Pittman. And then when I left to open up my own school in 2014, I continued under Carlos directly, just traveling to Dallas to learn from him. And I believe I got my black belt. I think I started off with that in 2011, October of 2011, somewhere around there, in jiu-jitsu underneath him.
No, I think that's really interesting that you say that, Garrett, because me and my career and meeting new people and everything, it's always really important to me to remember names. I may not be the best at remembering faces, but usually once I start talking to somebody, I'll know, remember their name. But I think it just helps create this connection that, it makes, like, you connected to him differently than if he weren't to have addressed you as Mr. Garrett, and you still remember that to this day. So I think that says something.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have not gone into it quite yet. We've kind of tiptoed around it. So you met Ty Garrett. Now, how exactly did that turn into you meeting Troy?
So Professor Garrett invited me up for a private lesson that he was going to do in Dallas with Master Dorsey. And he said, hey, listen, backtracking just a bit, Ty Garrett started to learn kickboxing, not started to learn kickboxing itself, but started to learn from one of Master Dorsey's black belts. His name is Mark Sturkey. And Mark Sturkey, though he never competed, has an incredible ability to translate what he learned from Master Dorsey into a language, so to speak, that another person can very clearly catch and grab a hold of and then apply. And so through Mark Sturkey, Master Dorsey's black belt, Professor Garrett went on to start to win some world titles, and which was really cool to see him watch in full contact fighting. And so he wanted to Mark Sturkey kept telling Professor Garrett that you need to go see Master Dorsey, you need to go see Master Dorsey, you need to go see Master Dorsey. And I may have some of these details wrong, this is secondhand, but this is just from how it was communicated to me, my experience of it. But he invited me to go with him, and so I did. I took my son, so we did like a father-son visit and day, and he took his. I think he took his son and daughter, maybe just his son, and we made a trip out of it. And that was like the first time that I got to train and work with Master Dorsey, and it's just incredible. Like, I know that you guys, I mean, this is what you guys talk about every week, but for those of you that haven't gotten to train with Master Dorsey in person, like it's his ability to point out just the smallest details that make the biggest difference in how you're striking is just incredible. It's just incredible. I mean, literally, when we were doing some challenges for dojo owners through the organization that he helped us found, I got to stay with him at his house, and we would go through some of the techniques that we're going to be covering on the call with them. And the amount that I learned in just a few minutes, I mean, it blew me out of the water. It was like months of information, condensed into a 5-minute lesson. It was just really incredible. So when Professor Ty Garrett called me and said, hey, Master Dorsey wants to put together an affiliation, an organization where other dojo owners can start to learn the kickboxing and boxing that he has perfected, over his career. But we can't do it alone. We need someone that is able to do the tech side of things. We need someone that's able to do the stuff that allows this information to get out to people via, internet, website, etc. And so, I mean, I didn't hesitate.
Does that sound about accurate, Troy?
Oh, that's exactly it. and he's maybe, I don't want anybody to misunderstand. This guy is amazing. Amazing teacher. He has an amazing school. He's an amazing husband and father of 2 kids, right?
Yes, sir.
And so yeah, it was great to meet him. Also, it was a God thing.
Mm-hmm.
God put us together, and we started Troy Dorsey Kickboxing Organization then, and so it's been Ty Garrett and Cheif Poole. It's been great.
I love it. And my last and final question for you, Cheif Poole, is, and I found this one the most interesting from the research I was doing on you before the interview, is I read something that says the person you become through martial arts training is always more important than any self-defense we can teach you. Can you tell me what you mean by that?
Yeah, so I mean, to make a long story short, I was addicted to alcohol. I did a lot of drugs. So luckily that I wasn't addicted to any of that. But martial arts really saved my life. It was the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 100th chance for me to make a better version of me, to be who I believe God created me to be. And, I always tell people that God, my wife, martial arts, and my grandmother are what saved me. And so it was the opportunity that I needed to get my life back on track. And so that's why I do what I do. Is this saved my life. I mean, I've been to jail 4 times. So when I say, looking at the footprints in the snow, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for martial arts. Some people just say that. I really mean it. I think it's true. And so it gave me that opportunity that I needed to get back on the right path, And something that Master Dorsey said, it was like a God thing. my grandmother passed away about at the same time that we really got the organization kicked off, and that I started spending a lot of more time with Master Dorsey. And my grandmother was a warrior for Jesus. Like every time you talk to her, you're going to talk about Jesus. It doesn't matter what the conversation or anything is about. Like, you're going to talk about Jesus when you're around her. And so she was always this steady rock in my life. And so when I lost her, when everybody lost her, but when I lost her, it was like God was like, I know you need this rock in your life, and so I have another rock for you. And Master Dorsey is that rock. Like, that man is a mouthpiece for Jesus. You're just not going to hear him. I mean, when you talk to him, Jesus is going to be in the conversation somewhere, And so I just thought it was just amazing, just amazing.
How are you feeling, Troy?
Thank you so much, Cheif Poole. I just can't really take it. It's so kind that you said that, and yeah, it wasn't a happenstance. The Bible says that all things happen for a reason, for those that are according to His purpose. It says that in Romans. I wish I knew the exact verse, but I do not. So yeah, all these things have happened, and I'm so fortunate that I was able to help, even if it was just a little bit, with your relationship with Jesus. So however it may have been, I'm just so blessed to be able to call you friend, brother, partner, and I can't explain any more than that. Words won't say enough. What you just said about me, I'm so thankful.
Of course, yes, sir.
And I think another thing that was supposed to happen is I'm really honored that I got to interview you and get to ask you questions. And, I've heard so much great things from Troy about you, but we finally got to have the three of us in a room together, whether it's virtually or in person. So I think that was another thing that was meant to be, because your story is really inspiring to me, and without a doubt, I know it's inspiring to anybody else that watches this show. So I appreciate you sharing that with us.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
So, Mr. Poole, you started martial arts when you said how old? 12, 13 years old? 11?
Yes, sir.
And how old are you now?
I am 38.
Okay. Well, I'm 61.
Yes,
so it's just been it's been an amazing trip with you, and I'm so thankful that God put you in my life. No doubt.
Yes, sir. I feel 100% the same way.
Well, Cheif Poole, thank you sincerely so much for being on the show today. Great episode. I think there's a big meaning to take away from this, and your story is very impactful, and one of several stories we've heard on this show of just how much martial arts can change someone's life. So thank you again so much for being on the show today, and we will definitely have you back on. And yes, thank you, Cheif Poole.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I've really enjoyed this. Thank you guys so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you for being part of it today. And over the last, when did we meet? Was it 5 years ago?
So I believe it was in 2019 or 2018. Yes, sir. One of those.
Okay.
Man, can you believe that's around 6 years ago?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yes.
Yeah.
But thank you again, Cheif Poole.